Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, and I am Cindy Rowe with Cindy Rowe Marketing. And it's a warm, unusually warm February day here in the Midwest. So I am excited. I have a new friend and networking partner, I guess, Michael, joining me today. Hello, Michael. How are you?
Hello, Cindy. I'm fine.
Excited to learn a little bit more about not only what you do, but your background. And can you tell everybody a little bit about what it is that you do, what business you have?
Okay, well, it's called Rockton-Roscoe News. Started in February. I'm sorry, in April of last year, and so we're that's what we focus on: news in Rockton and Roscoe. My slogan is that it's a first daily news outlet for Rockton and Roscoe for 185 years.
There wasn't an avenue to get the local news before you, so that's great. How did this come about? Why did you decide that this was something that you had to do?
I got fired from my previous job. You know, it's common for you to say, "Well, I got to support my family. I'll just take whatever I can get." Unfortunately, I wasn't very good at it, and it's kind of a nice um, a career strategy to actually do something that I'm good at. And so started looking for jobs, and they say, "Well, we'd like you to have a recent local journalism experience." I said, I'll figure out that out some way. So I found this group called Patch Labs, which their slogan is saving local journalism, which they say really means saving local journalists, which who work for me now because it's working. It's saving them, giving them something to do and paying them for local journalism, which is kind of evaporating all over the country. Um, so got that started, and once I was known as, I mean, once I started saying I'm with Rockton-Roscoe News, then I had to be Rockton-Roscoe. I had to cover things, and so it's I've got a lot of people I think that are looking at what I'm doing. I had it's about 1,000 visitors a day. I had 3,000 the other
Wow.
day, so it's kind of exciting.
And so, is journalism your background? Is that what you have a passion for? How did that leap from getting fired? And thank you
Yeah.
for being very vulnerable because those words are really hard to say.
Yeah.
I've been there. So, to starting this news outlet.
Well, I've had a few different interests, but I think I've always been kind of a writer. I thought I was more of a fiction writer, but I've been a researcher, and I've done some really. I did scholarly abstracts for journals, which was really interesting. Is reading something that I had no training in, but trying to figure out how to describe it in 120 words is kind of fun. So I did that, but I was effectively assistant managing editor for a monthly magazine when I was much younger, and yeah, I'm interested in kind of getting to the heart of things. I'm the one that if someone says I don't know what's going on, I'm always been the one that say, well, let me figure it out and I'll let you know.
You don't mind digging through and figuring out what's happening. I like that. And so, why Rockton Roscoe?
Well, just because I was here, I did a little research to see if there's some way I could help with a news desert in like West Texas or something where there's no local paper. But it's a little complicated. It's nice to be able to drive over to the village of Roscoe and say, hey, can you give me a copy of your latest agenda or something like that? So yeah, I'm here, and it's I've got a business uh, platitude, which is focus on the keep focusing your market until the competition is manageable. And so I could have been, Winnebago County Press or something like that. But there are other publications in Winnebago County. So it turned out this is a little bit of it's 31,000 people in the Rockton and Roscoe zip codes, and so it turned out that's a bunch of people that really need some focus, and the other papers and outlets around here, don't have the time to go to every school board meeting and things some of the things that I've started doing.
Yeah. And so is this just an online news outlet? Is it tangible? I know I get it in my email,
Yeah,
but for the viewers.
that's it. It's all online. I think though that just for fun, maybe for Roscoe Fall Festival, we'll publish a paper version. It's kind of nice to do that kind of thing every 185 years or so. No, we maybe more often than that. We just need to get the advertisers behind it. Uh, but yes, it's online, and it's kind of fun because people think of it in different ways. Some people think of it as an email because you click on the links in the email and it goes to the website. Some people think of it as a website. Some people think of it as a Facebook page because I post all our stories on Facebook. And so some people, again, when you click on the link in Facebook, it goes to the website. But yes, that's how they want to receive it. And so we try to be help any way that people want to receive it, we'll give it to them.
Yeah, I like that. And like, so because you did not have a paper in the past or this type of business, like what kind of hurdles or what things did you have to figure out to make this work and get it to a smooth process like you have it now?
Well, let's see. Yes, as far as writing and wordsmithing, I felt pretty confident about that. As far as doing research, I felt pretty confident about that. But this job of being a small town newspaper publisher, it really comes well with having, well, maybe not having lived here forever, but having lived here a long time to have met everybody. And so that's great that I've got Gene Seegers and Marianne Mueller working with me now, who have been doing this for 20 and 21 years respectively. So they do know everybody. And it's really great to get an email from Gene saying, are you planning to cover this? And the answer always is, if you say so, yes. But it's great
So,
that, the fact that it's the first time I said I'm Michael McGinnis with Rockton-Roscoe News. People said, I never heard of you before, but it's exciting to have you here. So there's been a warm welcoming from I think the community.
yeah. And so when you decide on what to put into um, the email, the website, or on Facebook, like what's that process? Because I'm
Um,
sure there's a lot of things that get omitted or that
mhm.
maybe you're unaware of or whatever. But like, what is the process of figuring out what's newsworthy for the citizens of the area?
That's good. I want to get better at that. I did a reader survey recently to kind of ask people what kinds of things they want to hear. But frankly, the fact that the platform that Patch Labs gives me automatically publishes an email at 6 a.m. as long as I've published something in the previous 24 hours, that it's kind of a motivation just to do something. Um, so, but yeah, I want to get better at long-term um, planning and saying, okay, what is it that we really need to make sure we cover? But we've got beats. I know I'm going to show up at the last night I was at the Roscoe Village meeting, and Marianne was at the Rockton Village meeting, and then a couple Wednesdays ago we might go to the township meetings also the same time in two different towns. When I've been looking on nextdoor.com and Facebook and seeing what people are up in arms about, and so that's why I wasn't at the Roscoe Township meeting, because I was at a school board meeting with a lot of other people recently.
Yes, that's been in the news a lot around this area. So you have been very busy and not lacking of content to provide to people.
For that.
So when you started, I mean, geez, almost a year ago, right? We're coming up
Yeah.
on April. I think that's what you said, right? April of
Yeah.
last year. Um, is this where you envisioned it to be a year later?
Hmm. Oh, everybody's optimistic, unreasonably optimistic. I guess there was a time where I said, "Oh, I only have a few hundred readers, I wanted all 31,000 to join me, but it's a bit step by step. I still have people saying, I never heard of you before, but now it's getting a little more, I've met somebody and he says, oh yeah, I read it all the time. Don't always agree, but I read it all the time. So
Do you have like, do people, when they subscribe, do they have to pay to subscribe, or how do you get funded to continually provide the news of the area?
well, you can contribute. You can actually be a sponsor, $5 or $15 is suggested amounts. And then also businesses advertise, and we've got a special deal for members of Elevate 1.5. But on our website, it's a page called Advertise, and it describes how big the ads are, and so that's one of the things that Patch Labs provides, is a system where it randomly, automatically puts the ads in the right place at the right time. So there's that. To subscribe, it's free. To read articles, it's free. I get as annoyed as anybody else by trying to read an article and saying, oh, you have to be a subscriber before we'll let you read more than the first paragraph. So we don't do anything like that at all. I don't think we really have any. We don't have anything that where you support us or advertise with us because you believe in what we're doing. That there's, even from the political or the civic point of view, we're providing information that you can't get anywhere else, that you really do want to know what your village is doing and what the school board is doing. But we don't have anything where if you pay more, you get more. We pretty much offer that to everybody.
Yeah, I do think it's annoying when you start reading an article online and then, you can't get in here unless you're Premier or whatever. I'm like, oh, thanks. Nope. Guess it wasn't that important for me. But so I appreciate that. I can appreciate that. And if people really do find it, like something that they're always looking for, or great information, and want to support you, there's that option to do so, which I think is great. I know when we start new businesses, there's always, that fear of survival and, how am I going to do this or whatnot. What was that like for you, especially during COVID?
Yeah.
And, I mean, this is a little bit different, I would imagine, than some businesses that might have started during COVID. But what was the big fear that you had when you started last April?
Oh, maybe I didn't. I mean, I was already unemployed. I mean, it wasn't that much for it to, but yeah, it was. I don't know. I guess I really didn't think too much about that. And maybe that's it's sometimes a good, sometimes a bad characteristic of me, that I if I think that I should do it, then I just go ahead and do it, and not worry about some things anyway. So I should probably have been more fearful of some things.
Maybe not. I mean, I'm an overthinker, so and I know that sucks actually. But I do agree with you. Like, if you feel like, man, I'm just going to go for it. And as you just said, you are already unemployed, so really what was there to lose, right?
Yeah.
Might as well go for it and see if it works. So I appreciate that. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have that deep down. That boldness of let's do it and figure it out, because I think that this is something that is needed in the area. So kudos, hats off to you. I love that you have found a system, and I forget what you had called it, but that helps you get the news out.
Well,
So
Patch Labs.
Patch Labs.
Yeah.
So how did you find out about them? Is that a connection you had in the past, or just in your research of?
Yeah, I just came up in my research. I think probably starting with that point of, okay, how do I get? Yes, having been an entrepreneur, not a terribly rich entrepreneur, but I've got a bunch of .com domains, and I've started things like that, and I've always been profitable. I've always had made a few $100s more than what I spent, but it was profitable. And so I think that's part of it. Is I say I'm Yeah, well, what I was going to say is that because of being a web developer and web marketer and things like that for years and years, since 1996 or so, something like that. Um, I am not afraid to start a business. To start a business, you need to register a domain, and then I've already got hosting, so I just put it on my. It's done. I've got a website started. So I thought, okay, I can start a business. I can start a publication and then put that on my resume and say, look, I've got currently local journalism experience. So that was easy to find. And then patch.com is pretty famous. They've got lots of websites all over the country, but this is kind of an improvement of how can we make this more effective. But the software was already put together. A lot of things are already put together, and I get to talk to the chief technology officer and the chief sales manager, and all those guys are interested in what I'm doing, so they're always ready to help.
That's great. Do you have like a mentor or somebody that you look up to, or you know, because business can be so lonely, right? Like,
Yeah.
do you have that group or person that you rely on to help you, maneuver and grow and get to where you want to be, or bounce ideas off of?
Yeah, I think those Patch Labs people are really doing that, and they've even hired a fellow editor, but she's also responsible for making sure the rest of us are advancing, and going to have a training this afternoon, as a matter of fact, on how to handle money better than we've been doing, that I've been doing anyway. So I really need to be emphasizing sales a lot more. I've been just sort of doing it. This is my civic duty, and people like me and expect it. So I haven't spent as much time as I should have asking for sales people. But um, as far as companionship, at least, and encouragement, it's great um, I've got my reporters that have been doing this for 20 years around here, and it's good to consider the people like Gene Seegers as a friend.
Yeah, that's great. I know, like the first year or so in my business, it was very lonely, and I was curious on, am I doing the right thing? Am I going in the right direction? And and I am not good with the money side either. So
Mhm.
that's been a process to learn about over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Actually, I hate accounting. Hate it.
Oh yeah.
Period. Not good at that. Creativity all day long.
Hmm.
Numbers, not so much.
Yeah.
Speaking of creativity, how do you get the word out? How do you market your news?
Well, it's certainly nice to have people with lots of Facebook followers that share my posts. That I can see in my line graphs and statistics, that when that happened. And sometimes it is just uh, I mention somebody's grandfather or grandson, and they share with hundreds of people, and it's I can see that spike up on my chart. um it's kind of interesting for my product. Well, because of what my product is of journalism, it's I guess it's probably true of a lot of businesses. Just doing a good job is a form of marketing, certainly. I say, here, look at the story, is it good? Okay, then share it. um, but Yeah, Facebook, I've been really emphasizing. I have hardly any Twitter followers. Um, I'm a little frustrated with Instagram, and I'm one of those that says more at link in bio. I'm because I wish, and so I haven't mastered the Instagram story, which I think I could in some cases do a better job of that and stick my little links on there, and you get right to the website. But some of that, I'm sure Meta is, Meta perhaps knows what they're doing and wants it to be the way it is, and so but yeah, I'll fight against that as much as I can. I want to get my business promoted.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's so many different tools on social media that you can utilize to help get the story out. It's just like with anything, it takes time and it takes time away from what you're trying to do in the business. But have you seen from those shares that people do on Facebook, have you seen then your subscribers grow your web? Like, has that resulted in, you know, growth on the email side and as well as website visitors? Do they
Yes.
equate?
Well, yes. They don't always equate. I mean, I think when I share about an obituary, for example, I might get a lot of the relatives, maybe from around the country, that really shouldn't be subscribing to something that's full of news about a place they don't live. But I've got a few people who don't live here who say I want to keep up with the old hometown. Um, I- yeah, it definitely shares. Social media definitely relates to how many views I've got. Uh, and I think also once I get those spikes, then more people say, I never heard of this before. Now I'm going to subscribe. So it does. Um, it's not as close as I'm really hoping, all 3,000 people that saw the article ought to sign up, but they didn't. But yes, I think I got dozens and dozens signing up from 1,000 views.
So I'm trying to understand the way that the patch whatever system works. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, it's not sticking with me.
Patch Labs.
So you have control over those email addresses that subscribe,
Yeah.
that want them in your email box. Do
Mhm.
you utilize those email addresses in any other way to market, to encourage other things in the area?
Oh, no, I'm not using my list for anything else. Probably partly because I mean, where who's got email is concerned about being accused of being a spammer. So I think people said, I want to get your newsletter, and that's all we're sending them. I can get the emails out. I don't think I've ever sent a separate email other than our regular newsletter, and so I need to get better at getting into our regular newsletter. And I'll send one out after we finish here, to say, can you please take an action that will promote, the good deeds of Rockton-Roscoe News.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of where I was going. Like perhaps that could help you grow a little bit more too
Mhm.
by doing that ask. Because what I coach businesses on, is that call to action. And if you
Mhm.
put something out there, you really have to tell people what you actually want them to do.
Find that call to
So,
action. Yeah.
you know, because we're busy, we're dumb, we don't care. But if you tell us what to do, good chance we're gonna follow through on that.
I
So
think one of the most effective things that I did was saying, "Hey, have you thought about recommending us and liking us?" And so I had links to do that for all the social media that we're part of,
great.
and
Yeah.
suddenly people started doing it. They hadn't
Yeah.
done it without being told.
Yeah, that's great. So you're all about the local. Are you a born and raised Roscoe Rockton native? Like,
Oh,
or do you just now call this area home?
yeah. I moved here. We moved here because it was closer to the job that I had, which I got fired from. So that's an interesting story there. But um, we moved from Texas. So I was born in New Mexico, learned how to talk near Dallas. Then from age 4 to 14, I lived in Southern California. Then went back to Texas for high school, college in Indiana, and then after college, partly in Southern California again, Pasadena, and then partly in San Antonio, Texas. Well, not just a few other places. We've lived in several places in Texas. So when we moved back to the Midwest, yeah, we ended up in Roscoe. Uh, But my wife from Southern Illinois, so she thinks that anything south of Peoria is too warm, I think. So she's very happy here, and so it's really since I started Rockton-Roscoe News that I don't think I really did get too involved in the community, and now I feel pretty proud to be part of it.
Yeah, I love that. I like that you have that pride, and it shows in what you report, because again, it comes in my email box every day, and I scroll through it and click on the ones that really intrigue me, and
Yeah.
I feel like, you tell the right stories and you give us the right information. Um, and I'm new to this area, so um, I've been from Illinois, but new to the Roscoe Rockton area. And I love this community, and I love how they support the local businesses. I love the strength of the community. And I mean, I think we're seeing a split most recently. It was some issues, but I think that's in every community. Maybe it's just more heightened because we're smaller. Um, but yes, I think you've done a great service for our community, and I appreciate getting that email. And I've told several people, I'm like, well, I got it in my email box. I knew about that. So I kind of feel a little privileged a little bit. But I love how it came about. And I love that you are not shy to say we got fired, because man, when I got fired, it sucked. And it was, I don't think I ever really told anybody I got fired for years. There was that shame factor tied to it, but I believe it, in every turn of our path, right? Whatever should happen, it leads you to where you belong. So I think that, there's a reason for it all.
Yeah.
Well, it is, man, it's close to the end of the show. How fast
Oh,
that went.
yeah.
And like every show, I offer an opportunity for my guests to promote their business any way they feel necessary. So the floor is yours.
Great. Well, so the web address is roscoenews.com. So if you want to do rocktonroscoenews.com, that will also work. But as we said before, financially we're supported by sponsors, but the subscriptions are free. Especially advertisers. Obviously, you can donate as much as you want. Just talk to us. But the advertisers we have, well, that's also negotiable. We really do want to represent the community in our advertising as well as our content. So that's where you'd start. But we're also, as we say, Roscoe News, Rockton-Roscoe News on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. We're pretty well. If you Google us, you're probably going to find us. So you'll find us whatever your chosen platform is. But we do want to serve the Rockton-Roscoe community, and we want you to feel good about what we're doing. So we appreciate your support.
So I have a question, one more question before we end for today. If somebody out there is watching, whether it's right now or on the replay, if they have an idea for you for an article, is that welcome?
Yes, very welcome. That's right. Editor at roscoenews.com. That email address will work. You can watch my comments on Facebook as well. Actually, when you subscribe for free, you actually set up an account, and you can use that account to post events, ideas. You can put letters to the editorial editor, anything you want to do on there. So you can actually be part of Rockton-Roscoe News and give us news tips, anything you want to do.
Love that idea. That's great. Well, it was a pleasure, Michael, talking to you today. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best. And almost on your year anniversary coming up. We'll have to celebrate. Look forward
Thank you.
to watching this grow and the news expand. So we are done for today. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Michael.